Guess who's finally doing the Anthurium pollination video? So I'm basically going to go through the timeline from like seeing an inflow, harvesting the pollen from that inflow because I didn't have pollen to begin with, and then pollinating, and then finally getting seeds or a seed. Spoiler. I'm gonna do my best to make this make sense because the timeline is so long. So this journey begins back in September of last year when I posted this story. In case you couldn't see that, it is a little blurred. My Anthurium ballawanum was flowering for the first time. And usually I do sniff flowers off because I'm not really interested in breeding Anthuriums, and honestly, like, they take a lot of energy away from the plant. So I usually sniff flowers off. This time I decided, let's try and pollinate one of the Anthuriums. See what happens. So my first job, since I didn't have any pollen on hand, was to harvest some pollen from the ballawanum. So I definitely underestimated just how long it would take for the flower to reach the male stage so I could harvest pollen from it. But once it did reach the male phase, I was able to collect quite a lot of pollen. It was quite a big inflow. So I collected it and then put it in the freezer and waited for something else to happen. Flowers, just if you didn't know, the flowers go from female to male phase. So once you've waited for the male phase and collected your pollen, the female phase is already finished. So you've got to wait for a new flower to form to pollinate that. So now I was waiting for literally anything to flower. Fast forward to November. We're still in 2014, by the way. So in November, I noticed that 2 Anthuriums were starting to go into flower. The first one was a crystal blush, just pure crystal blush, and the other one was one of the magpap hybrids. I'm gonna try to insert photos of when they actually look good because right now, bitch, I'm gonna show you them at the end of the video. Pregnancy hath taken its toll. Then my next update comes in Jan. In Jan of this year, both inflows looked like they'd accepted the pollen. The inflows were starting to swell up. They looked like they were going into the infrutescence phase when they start like forming fruits. And this was the point where I kind of got my hopes up. I thought for sure, you know, this whole thing has worked and I'm gonna be drowning in seedlings by now. Oh my god, I'm basically an Anthurium hybridizer at this point. First attempt and it worked that well. Then a month went by and in Feb I updated that I thought the berries were starting to form to increase in size, with the crystal blush a little bit further along than the magpap, just because the crystal blush went into flower like a little bit full the magpap, so it had like a teeny bit of a head start. Then it took pretty much 2 more months for those berries to mature to the point where they could be like easily knocked off or like gently nudged off the inflow. Unfortunately, by the time the berries were ready, it was well into autumn, so temps were starting to drop. I was starting to bring plants inside for the winter. Time-wise, this was not ideal, and as you know, this is a survive or die household. That means no grow light, no humidifiers, no seedling mats, any of that. It's survival of the fittest. So honestly, by the time these seeds were ready to like germinate, conditions were not ideal. So it's April at this point and we finally have our seeds. I should have taken photos of them. I like completely lost my mind. The process of getting the seeds out of the berries was really straightforward. You basically just squeeze them out like a tiny little grape. Then fast forward to the 11th of April. My germination method involved seedling trays filled with perlite and then put in this big prop box. Basically sat in this exact spot that we're in right now over winter. So I left them in the tub and kind of forgot about them. But when I did eventually check in, I found that most of the seeds were pretty much dead. Although, and I should have mentioned this, the seeds did not look good to begin with. They were really pale, like an off-white color, and a lot of them were like kind of misshapen. I mean, they looked unhealthy. Like they looked like they were near death. I didn't have a lot of like my hopes. I told you, like by now my dreams of becoming a hybridizer were already dead. So the weird looking seeds, I mean, that wasn't like my last straw, but that was kind of my last straw. When I sowed them, I figured most of them wouldn't make it. Thought maybe 50% will make it. What I didn't expect was that basically all of them would die, except one. or 2. A full year of my life. And what do I have to show? Let me show you what I have to show. 2 extremely stunted seedlings. So here they are, present day. It's the 16th of September. Both of them are Magpap by Ballawanum. Evidently, none of the crystal seeds made it. And the cherry on the cake, both mother plants look like they've been through a war. Do you know what? I actually haven't looked at these in a while. This one is like the epitome of stunted. It's so ridiculous. How are you going to be on your 3rd leaf and look like that? This one looks okay, but like if you knew how old this is, you would not be saying that. Seriously, they look traumatized. Let me show. Do you know what? This one actually doesn't look bad, but like if you knew what it looked like before. It's starting to put out some new leaves, which like thank God, but like this was the crystal blush, by the way, and then this one is the Magpap. And this was like the really nice dark one that I had. Poor Magpap. She's got a new leaf coming in, so slowly recovering, but you've got to feel guilty about what you've put a plant through. Fortunately, before I did this, I did take props of both plants, just in case something did happen. And then this is its like propagation. And thank God I did. What I liked about this was that the veins were not as pronounced, but like on its baby the veins look pronounced. See, these were the OG leaves. They looked way more similar. I don't know if it's just because of size, but like, or you know, it's probably lighting conditions. Now that I think about it, it's definitely lighting conditions. But that's dark Magpap, and that's the story of my pollination journey. More like trials and tribulations though, if we're being honest. Everything that could go wrong went wrong, and I didn't even have like the season on my side. But the craziest part though is that despite this epic fail, I currently have 2 Anthuriums that are about to go into flower. And guess what I'm gonna do? I'm going to pollinate them again. So right now I've got one of the Ballawanums that are outdoors going into flower, and I've also got, where is it? Spotted this just yesterday. If you watch the plant tour, you would know this is like my OG Magpap, not the dark one. The OG one, flowering right there. Can you listen? So if you're curious to see what I do with this, like this video, subscribe to keep up with that. Okay, bye. What now? Okay, we're finally doing the seedling video. What the fuck was that? Is there a smoothing filter on this? Why does my skin look so smooth? Look at that. Look at that.